Hello everybody, it's me, Bladecharge. So, today I'm going to be doing a video about the overall lore in Umamusume so you have a better understanding of it and such. I never really saw any other overall lore videos about Umamusume, just pieces here and there and about the Umamusume and the IRL counterpart. So, here we are, an autistic VTuber trying to give you a video on autistic details. And if you want to know how I got hooked in, I did a live stream of this game months ago, and that's how it happened. So, without further said, like, comment, and subscribe if you do enjoy today's video. And let's get into it. We're going to talk about first biology and get your head out of the gutter. Let's go. With all Umamusume are female, there is no male Umamusume. If there was male Umamusume, then a lot of the cast in Umamusume would be male. Because Ogre Cap, Goat Ship, and other Umamusume are based off of real-life racehorses, and if there were male Umamusume, they would be male. Most likely. Most definitely. But anyway, it doesn't really matter if the Umamusume's parents are both human or one of them is also Umamusume. That stuff doesn't matter, else, if it did matter, we wouldn't have the Umamusume, logically speaking, from a writer point of view. Well, a world building point of view, I should say. Also, it's an IP of Horoscope, so that's why there's no male ones, but hey, draw male Umamusumes if you really want to. I almost thought there were male Umamusumes because of somebody drawing them at one point that I saw on the internet. Okay, well anyways, let's talk about more of their biology. I just realized that maybe this segment of the video shouldn't be called biology, maybe, I'm not too sure. Now I'm second guessing myself, oh my gosh. But maybe I'm just being an autistic dummy and should just still do it, oh my gosh. Anyways, so physically Umamusume are superior to humans. They have superior strength, they can run faster. They have their own lane in season 2 of the Umamusume Pretty Derby anime where they show there's an Umamusume lane that replaces the bike lane just for the Husko so they can run at 50 miles per hour, I think. Wait, how do they do it? Sorry, I'm being silly. It's 50 kilometers per hour. Sorry, I'm just being silly American. So 50 kilometers per hour is pretty much 31 miles per hour. And there are Umamusume who can do faster than that. They can even go up to 70 kilometers per hour, which is 43 miles per hour. And even somewhat over 70 miles per hour can Umamusume also achieve the speed. And if you ever seen an S-rank Umamusume on the game, just to let you know, all those Umamusume and probably the A ones as well can go over 70. Or about 70. So basically Umas that have the 1200 max speed. Side note, some humans may have some sort of super endurance or whatever because in the anime, the trainer, who's just called trainer, gets physically abused for being a puppet, so I don't know why I think that's funny. At times, and you in the Umamusume game, who gets drop kicked by Gold Ship whenever she wins a G1 race because she's happy. Unless they have some restraint that they know, oh, I better not hurt the trainer this badly or I just might end up killing him or whatever. Yeah, just a funny thing to add right there. Also, another thing to note about Umamusume's biology, and thankfully they do not have human ears. They just have their horse ears. That's it. As far as we know, that's it. Because, thank God, it's kind of annoying at times to me. I don't know if it's a pet peeve. Probably is. That you have these cat girls and such that have human ears and then their cat ears. But no, Umamusume just have their horse ears. It's a nice change of pace. And you could tell this from the anime because the headphones that they have are specifically for Umamusume. And especially talking a telephone booth to her mother. It's long enough to reach from her ears, her horse ears, to her mouth. I had to record that part multiple times. I don't know what's with me. One final note I would like to make is that Umamusume have this innate desire to run and to race. It's pretty much coded within their DNA. It's a natural instinct for all Umamusume in general that helps drives them to race and whatnot. Not all Umamusume are racers, most likely, but a lot of them are probably, racers. Wait, was I accidentally saying racist? I meant racist, sorry. Racist, I have an odd problem. Racist. Now we will talk about the history and the religion of the Umamusumes. Hi, Future Blade here. I forgot about something from biology which I didn't know about and I should have looked it up. I discovered it by talking about Umamusume on Simply Patrick's YouTube channel through his Discord with another YouTuber when I posted something on there by Maximilian Ochbenbolt, which I probably butchered that name. Ochbenbolt. Okay, I think I got it. That is basically, and I should have looked this up, is that Umamusume age like horses. They're like elves. They have a growth spurt really quickly. The body ages fast, but when they get to a certain age, their body slowly starts to age like they are now for an actual racehorse. So that is one thing to consider, and that's why a lot of Umamusume can still look so young and whatnot. And why people call them elves is because of their aging process. And if you wanted to know if that explains why there's no sense of time or whatever in Umamusume, that there's no chronological order, well, you should forget a chronological order ever exists. I'm gonna mention something else that would help explain things better later on, but it's better if you just treat the entire show like it has no chronological order and stuff like that, because side games don't care, so you shouldn't care either, really. But there are answers, at the very least, to this chronological issue, and we're going to talk about a little bit more when we talk about Treason Academy itself. Now we will talk about the history and the religion of the Umamusumes. So there really isn't that much in the past to talk about, because they don't give us that much. They've been around since the ancient times of humanity and such, but that's about it, really. I know they focus more on the present than in the past, but that's all we get to go for, really. I guess there can be some female historical people that were Umamusume, since everything gets umified in the anime. So maybe like Joan of Arc might be Umamusume or something like that. Catherine the Great might be an Umamusume. But one thing we do know for sure is that the world has accommodated Umamusume. Like this one scene from season 2 with Toei. She's at a barber shop and on the chairs there's one for Umamusume that has a hole that Umamusume can put their tail through it, little socket hole. Also, speaking of modern trends like that, imagine your most favorite social media platform. Replace it with the word Uma. You got Umagram, Umatube, and such. Everything is Umified. I don't really have that much else to go off of, but we're gonna talk about the 3 goddesses in Umamusume. The 3 goddesses are based off of IRL horses, which were the 3 foundation stallions. That's who the 3 goddesses are, that's where they came from. And all of the Umamusume are somehow connected to one of the 3 goddesses. The real life equivalent of who these goddesses were are, meaning the horses that they are based off of, Dolly Arabian, Godolphin, Bob, sorry if I butchered that, Briarly Tuck. Those are the 3 goddesses, and one thing to note that there is an AI version of them in Umamusume that was created through technology by Satoru VR. Mrs. Tuck here was actually the goddess of discipline, and her real life counterpart was actually an early military veteran warhorse, believe it or not, so that's why she looks and acts like a drill sergeant. Highly disciplined, rough around the edges type of thing. But again, they're just AI, they don't physically exist. In the word of Umamusume, I'm gonna butcher this. Godoflimbod is the goddess of love in the Umamusume anime. Also in IRL, nobody really knew if he was actually a Bob or an Arabian, but the game went with Bob. Cowstone Light O is the only Uma that came from him in the game. That's because Bob is more acquainted with North American horses, so that's why there's only one Uma that represents him in the game. But the next one though represents the majority. Oh, and Talk represented a few like Teo, McQueen, Rudolph, and some others. Oh yeah, one additional note, her VR self, her AI counterpart, even though she does love the Umamusume and such, she does try to put challenges and such for them to overcome so they can improve upon themselves. The next one is Darling Arabian. Sorry if I keep butchering his name. So about the thing that the majority of the Umamusume are connected to Arabian is that the IRL counterpart, that he had a great grandson, I believe, called Eclipse. You know the model in Tracing Eclipse Force, the rest nowhere? That horse is the reason why the majority of the Umamusume are connected to the goddess version of Arabian. It's because of him. So Dali is the goddess of bravery in Umamusume. Again, as an AI assistant, she helps the Umamusume and let them go and guide them on their path, give them their own their freedom to choose what path they want to go on, and she does seem carefree and whatnot as well, but she does help guide the Umamusume that she's trying to help out and such with. So those are the three goddesses, and that's who they are. So now you know about the three goddesses. We're going to be talking about the last part. Basically modern Umamusume, but for the most part, actually I'm just going to call it the Tracing part. So let's talk about the Academy itself. Tracing Academy. It is where the main story takes place of the Umamusume girls. That's where they go to learn and race and compete in the Twinkle series and all those other high tier races. The G1 races. I'll go over the races real quick, the race types. So there's the pre-open, the debut ones, and then there's the open races, which are not graded. Then there's the graded 3 races, the Grand Prix 3, and then you got the Grand 2, and then you got the Grand 1, which is all the major races, the major national races in Japan. And then you got the XR races, which are basically extra enhanced races. If you played the game, those are the races that come at the end of your career mode. It appears in the anime if you want to do the Twinkle series, the only way you can do that is if you go to Tracing Academy, because the URA, aka the Umamusume Racing Association, has it that way. For the most part, if you're not in Tracing Academy, you can still do the regional races like in Cinderella Grey, but for the Twinkle series, you have to be enrolled at Tracing Academy. The director is Yoi Akikawa, and the director of Tracing Academy is Director Akikawa, and a secretary Tazuna. Which you see Tazuna in everything, but you don't see the director in the anime or the movie that was released new beginning or new era. I keep forgetting the name of that, I'm sorry. I'm a dummy. It is a little bit of a rumor that maybe both of them are also Umamusume, and the director absolutely loves her students. She wants to do everything she wants to do to help her students, including security, which it's a spoiler really, to be honest, and I really can't talk about it. It was released in the Great Cinderella manga, and I don't want to spoil you guys, but if you know what it is, you know what it is. I just don't want to spoil it. But this is a little video, and I'll just have the time skip up ahead if you don't want to get spoiled. Okay, so spoiler time. To know about this little tad bit already because of YouTube land, so I think it already got spoiled, so I'm just gonna say it. Director Arikara has her own special forces unit, and they're not armed. Oh, this happened in Cinderella Grey, the manga. They're not armed or anything like that, so I guess that's the legal way she can have her own military unit. They do got helicopters, but they don't have any weaponry, so I guess that's how she was able to go through the legal hoops to acquire her own military force for Tracing Academy. The people that are in the armed forces, they probably know hand in hand. I highly doubt that they don't because, if you're not going to be using weapons in special forces, then you have to learn how to kick butt and take names and shoot bubblegum, then tell the opponents that they're in a bubblegum, and then they start to beat the butt. It's been like 5 months since that chapter came out, so I'm pretty sure it's fine. Besides, it got talked about to oblivion, so might as well just jump on it. But anyways, back to the academy itself. So it does middle school through high school, Japanese middle through high school. And they do have dormitories for the students to stay at, their own cafeteria and such, their own training facilities, so the students can improve themselves physically so they'll be able to race and whatnot. I don't think it's a requirement for students to enter in the races to be at Tracing Academy, but it is probably highly encouraged though, with all those teams looking to recruit new Umamusume into their fold. So I'm going to talk a bit about the age part. I know Future Me did that because this is like Future Me right now, and that the student council member is Rudolph, who's been there for years now. And I guess you could kind of make sense because it's middle school through high school. And she might be like in maybe her 20s, but she's maybe possibly, I'm not really too sure, but she may have student council as a job, so to say. It's really is complicated. That's why you really shouldn't worry about like time and such when it comes to the show or to the IP in general. But let's talk about the Twinkle series real quick, the race that everybody in the anime such races in. So the Twinkle series lasts through the junior to senior year of racing, and it has the Triple Crown Tiara, which you get one goal. You're supposed to get one goal of trying to obtain it, and that is by reading 3 G1s. These are the Sasukuso, the Tokyo Mizushi, Japanese Derby, and the Sunkasho. If somebody wins all 3 of these, which again we mentioned it before, Rudolph did, then they will become the Triple Crown champion. And then there's the Arimakiri, which is basically a race vote, a race of fans. So it's for the fans. The fans select who their most favorite Umamusume is, and then they race and see who wins and yada yada. And then there's the Japanese Cup, which is a worldwide race in Japan, where you got races from Tracing races up against other Umamusume from other parts of the globe. And the Japanese and American Cup is a part of the Autumn Senior Triple Crown. The other race a part of the Triple Crown is the Autumn Tenon Show. You also got the Triple Tiara, which is the Oka Show, Japanese Oaks, and the Shutsuka Show. And then there's the third Triple Crown, the Hyeni High, Tokyo Derby, and Japanese Dirt Classic. There has only been a very few people who were able to ring the 3 classic lengths, like again Rudolph, Natoya Bryan, and Contrail. Now then, I talked about all the races that all the characters will race in, but I'm gonna talk about the Dream series. Okay, so after the 3 years, what the Umamusume can do is potentially go into is called the Dream Series races, which is basically a place where the riders will take Umamusume and put them over there, so nobody has to worry about them racing or whatever. But basically, the real life version of that is basically like a retirement races for like Umamusume who have hit their peak. And when they hit their peak, Umamusume, they will start to gradually like decline a lot of their racing potential, so they really can't keep up with like the newer generation or whatever when they hit their peak. This is like explained a bit more in season 3 of the Umamusume Pretty Dirty anime. But basically, if you hit your peak and that's all you can do, you're gonna not be able to run as you did before, and you probably won't be able to complete or whatever, so you can possibly get into the Dream Series. So in the show and the IP, it's basically like the Dream Series, like a race series where retired racehorses go to race, basically. That's why we still see everybody training and running and whatnot. Because at Racing Academy, if you're in the Dream Series, you can still be at Racing Academy and get training and whatnot. We never see anybody actually graduate. We probably never will, I'm guessing. But Racing Academy is like a place for the people who like go into Dream Series and whatnot to still train and whatnot. So there is that. That's why if you watch the Pretty Dummy anime, that's why Special Week's there, that's why Scarlet and Vodka are still there, etc. Because they're probably in the Twinkle series and racing and whatnot, or they're like still like attending Racing Academy because they haven't graduated yet. But then again, I don't know if we're ever gonna see that happen. After that, I really don't know what happens, but we could talk about what was the point of them doing this career in the first place, like the financial aspect of it and whatnot, the money. So the Umamusume are all treated as professional athletes when they're in the races. That's why you see merchandise, interviews, TVs and whatnot. They are pretty much teenage professional athletes. You can view like trainers as coaches, if you will, although do take note, not all Umamusume will have a trainer, because there's some that do and some that don't. All the Umamusume that we follow, they all obviously are gonna have trainers. Of course, in the game, you're a trainer and such, yada yada. And because of that, they do get money, and it is mostly handled by the trainer if they have a trainer. Not all Umamusume have trainers that are in the races, but though they do get money from the places and races and probably the merchandise and whatnot as well. But there is no gambling on races in Umamusume. All the races you see, that is not gamble money. You cannot gamble to see who will win, because in the Umamusume world, they let their runners run to see who is like the bestest and whatnot. By getting rid of betting, it nullifies the greed aspect of them wanting to win. I mean, there's still money for them to win, and they will get some of it or whatever. But yeah, that's just how it is. I don't really know how they deal with taxes and whatnot. I'm guessing that's taken care of by the trainer, and if they don't have a trainer, by Racing Academy itself. We don't really know all the nitty gritty details about that financial stuff or how much Umamusume gets, but I guess it all just depends. So after all this racing and whatnot, would they be able to live their lives without a single day of work? I have no idea. I mean, I could compare it to the IRL winnings, but knowing that this is the anime of horse racing goes, the winnings is probably much higher than real life. So I really don't know. But if they can't like live off of that or whatever, then they will probably later on in their lives try to get some sort of job or whatever to work at, or be like a company manager or creator or something, or just keep on being an influencer like they are. Like some of the Umamusume, they have a clear path. They have clear goals they want to do after they're done with the racing careers. They know that the racing careers probably won't be able to sustain them or whatever, but it will certainly help them, and they know they're gonna have to probably do stuff after the racing careers, because their racing careers is not gonna last them forever. Obviously, we can see that if you watch the anime and such. So they can maybe make enough at trading to maybe like put it like invested in stocks or something or whatever, or to help people they care about. But yeah, the racing can help them financially, but in the future they may have to go try to get another job. Thankfully, besides racing, they could be like idols or something because they do those contests and whatnot. Or maybe they'll go to something else that they could potentially do. I'm pretty sure when Umamusume graduates from Tracing Academy that they try to help them in the future or whatever during the very last year there to help them out in life. Heck, maybe they'll become an assistant to a trainer. Who knows? Heck, some came from highly wealthy families that are really big companies and whatnot as well. Only the future can tell for them. But we're probably not gonna see that future unless Side Games was to do a future like spin-off or something. That would probably be like a side thing, really. Like, I don't know if they really want to do that. They're probably not gonna do that. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? This is future, you know? Like, I know a lot of us would like to know what happens to the future of our favorite Umamusumes and such, but I guess we'll see. Something to think about. That probably won't happen. Anyways, I'm gonna call it for this video. So if you guys liked the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.